The body swells when it is hurt. To stop this is unnatural.
Subliminal mutilation.
Actually, I hear people laughing at me in my head. I don't know what it is. I can't shut it off.
Subliminal mutilations, isn't it?
I was always afraid of chaos and disorder.
I took the drugs. The drugs put me to sleep.
You're just putting people down. Well, since when is that good business practice?
He clutches his chest and he falls over dead. That old man was my father.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jean Geraghty, and I'd like to talk to you about subliminal mutilations. I broke my wrist once. It was very stupid. I was hiking in the mountains. It's just Fanucci and me. And we were discussing whether it is right to wear brown to a funeral. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on around us, the snow under our feet turning to ice, and the next thing I know I was falling, free falling, as it were, and I just remember hitting my head. It was brutal. The pain. I nearly blacked out. In fact, I think I did, because I don't remember anything except falling and hitting my head. The rest is a blur. I know Fanucci was there because he told me, but I blacked out.
It's a beautiful day, isn't it?
What's so beautiful about it?
I mean, it's the first nice day for about a month. Look at it, it's gorgeous.
I suppose. It's beautiful here, but you know, but down the road, there's a little boy. He's decided to go on a walk with his dog Charlie. And they're walking, and then they cross the street. And as they cross the street, this huge bus barreling down on them. And it crashes into them, and the leash gets caught in the bus wheel. The boy is dragged for 16 blocks. His head is split open like an overripe melon. Back home, his mom is waiting for him. She's cooked supper. She doesn't know that he's gone.
Well, that could be true, but it's just hypothetical, honey. You know, Tom called, and he's gonna be off school and come visit in a week. And honey, your mom called last night.
My mother?
I didn't want to wake you because I know how upset it makes you to talk to her.
I love my mother. My mother's a saint. She's a divine saint. Let me tell you a story about my mother, about a mother. The little boy is told to go play in the garden, and he does that. He's been playing there for a while. Then he decides to go play in the garden across the street. When he goes in the garden, he sees a woman kissing a man. That woman was his mother.
Was that little boy you?
No, it's just a little boy. This little boy is upset. He runs to the neighbor, knocks on the door. The neighbor throws open the door. He says, "I don't like snotty little boys. We don't want little boys around here."
Oh, is it you?
No, it's just a little boy. This little boy he's so upset that tears are streaming down his face. If you saw this little boy, your heart would break. He runs out into the street. He doesn't know what he's doing. But there's a car coming. The car almost hits him, but stops just short. And then a man gets out of this car, and it's an old man. And this old man, he looks at the little boy, he says, "Little boy, are you all right?" The little boy looks up at him. The old man clutches his chest, and he falls over dead. And that old man was my father.
Oh, honey, it was you.
No, it was just a little boy.
You never told me that story before. It's really sad.
You know about sadness or happiness.
You know what? Once there was a little girl, and she was really poor, and she went to school in tatters, and her clothes were all torn, and all the other kids were rich, and they went to the cafeteria, and they had these Mickey Mouse lunchbox, and you know what she had? She had a brown paper bag.
That little girl was you, I suppose.
Yes, she was. But you know what? I grew up, and I got strong and independent, and I found you, and I thought my life was fulfilled. I don't know what's happened to you, but I want our old relationship back, or I want out.
What you said.
Yes?
A little girl? What the hell is wrong with you? What kind of nonsense is that? That's like, what kind of a story is that? Nobody's gonna believe that bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
I want our old relationship back, or I want out. Or I want out. Or I want out. Or I want out.
I'm broken. Please fix me.
It's not easy when you hurt yourself. For my wrist, it was a non-dislocated fracture, which means that it was broken. The bone was broken, but it was still attached. I was very lucky. So lucky, they told me. They took me to the emergency room, and I sat there with Fanucci, who seemed to know a lot about these things. "You'll be all right, Lefty," he told me. And then he came close and he whispered, "The worst pain is at night. That wrist is going to be agonized." "Stop it," I said. "This is how you comfort me?" The emergency room doctor had on a very bad toupee. It looked like a seal. I mean, why do people wear those things? I have no idea. A seal. A seal. I could almost hear it barking.
The divorce papers were served on me today. You know, I mean, my wife of like 23 years, I love my wife, you know, and I couldn't imagine being with anybody else ever again. And I just have this little thing that makes me more aware, it makes me feel really alive, you know? And she doesn't really understand it because, you know, there's the insult part, but the subliminal mutilation is different. It's more like in the back of your mind and sort of like this negative projection that's really positive, that really lifts up your internal being and makes you feel whole. You feel like a fountain.
All of a sudden I'm a pariah in this neighborhood. You know, I thought I'd be like so popular opening up a Starbucks in the middle of Seattle. I don't understand it. I really don't. You know, people come in and, you know, I try to help them out. I use a technique called subliminal mutilation, which I read about, and apparently it's well documented, and according to peer research, it has a lot of good results. But when I try it on people, they just leave and never come back. So.
Well, I've been friendly with Wayne for years, so he always comes up with these crazy ideas. I mean, you know, he wants to start these nutty businesses. You know, I mean, who opens a coffee shop in Seattle? I mean, you know, I mean, we got a lot of coffee places. They even have them in parking lots. You know, at espressos. So he has these ideas. He wants to improve the business. So he comes up with this thing called subliminal. What was it called? Subliminal mutilation. It's like, I don't even know what it is. He explains it to me a dozen times. It sounds like he's insulting the customers.
Ever since you've been hanging around with Wayne, you know, I always liked Wayne, but he's weird. He's a weird guy, David. I mean...
Well, he's a little bit, you know, he's above average, intellectually. Don't you think?
What's he done to you? You're whispering strange things to the customers and...
You know, I think that both David and Wayne have developed this infatuation with something kind of like Tourette's syndrome, you know?
It's just...
They call it subliminal, but it's really just all of a sudden, you know, out of the blue, comes this obscene comment.
Or just this horrible, horrible insult. And it's you know, and what's funny about it is that they unerringly refer to it as something subliminal, when it's not that at all. It is just a blatant slam.
I mean, Wayne gets these crazy ideas.
Well, look at, you know, things like Est and you know, Gestalt, and it's a fad. It's a fad.
Well, some people still doing the Gestalt. I mean,
Well,
I don't know how fad like that. I mean,
I hear people laughing at me in my head. I don't know what it is. I can't shut it off. It's kind of like voices in my head. Stop!
It's strange, my broken wrist. It made me more outgoing, more friendly. I understood the pain of people who cannot live. I went to have it set. The doctor was a German man who spoke flatly, or matter-of-factly. "This is not uncommon," he said to me. "Doctor," I said to him, "should I take Advil or Tylenol?" He looked at me strangely. "For this it does not matter," he said. "Doctor," I said, "people have told me that Advil will reduce the swelling." "Why would you want to do that?" he said to me. I didn't have an answer. "You know, the body swells when it is hurt. To stop this is unnatural."
I'm not stupid. I read books. I took the Lamaze courses, watched the slideshow, got my certificate. But when it came to having a baby, well, let me tell you how it went for me. I went into labor 3 weeks early. I immediately telephoned my doctor. He was away on vacation, skiing in the Alps. I rushed to the hospital. When I arrived, I was told to wait. 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 There was not even a chair for me to sit in. When they took me to my room, this was not the room that had been described to me in the Lamaze books. There were no chintz curtains, bedspread, or pleasant background music. It was a typical sterile hospital room with stark sheets and an antiseptic smell in the air. I could hear a woman screaming hysterically down the hall. She screamed, screamed. Many hours went by. Hardly anyone attended to me. Occasionally a nurse would come in to make inane conversation about whether or not I was going to have a boy or a girl. A boy or a girl. Many hours went by. My pain increased. Finally, my doctor arrived. He was here to check my dilation. He was a stranger. He looked as though he had just stepped in from the golf course. I insisted to him that I was about ready. He said, "You've got a few more centimeters to go yet." My pain increased unbearably so. I had studied Lamaze breathing techniques to reduce pain. After a few minutes, I knew this did not work. I took the drugs. The drugs put me to sleep. But boy, when the pain came, I woke up. Then it was as if my whole body went into a pushing motion. My doctor said, "Don't push." Somehow I refrained. Then he said, "Push." Although I was extremely exhausted from having not pushed, I did. I pushed, 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 pushed. I had a beautiful baby boy. He was healthy, with 10 fingers and 10 toes. After a much-needed rest, I decided to name him Dan.
I had an aunt once. She raised me after my parents died. She lived in a time before Freud, before Nietzsche, before any of these psychoanalysts were the rage. I was 10 when she sent me away to school. Me, her only living grandchild. She could have kept me there, but she said, I don't think it's healthy for a young boy to grow up with an old woman as his only companion. I guess she was right. I was 10. She could have kept me there, but... nah, she was right. She was right. She raised me after my parents passed away. They died in an accident on a mountain. They fell. Free fell, actually. I miss them. They're lovely people.
Hi. Didn't I meet you at the graduate school business luncheon?
I was a speaker there.
I remember you.
Well, that was like 50 miles from here.
Ah, well, I wanted to get into the school spirit and all, so...
Well, that's something. What's your name?
Sandra, but everyone calls me Sandy, like the beach.
Sandy, like the beach. Sandy, come to think of it, you were the one sitting in the back and waving and cheering.
You noticed me.
Well, who does a lot of waving and screaming and cheering at a business luncheon? Well, what are you reading?
Oh, I'm reading this article on subliminal mutilation.
Subliminal mutilation? You're kidding me.
No.
Subliminal mutilation is a fascinating secret science that's been developed by man in recent history. It's the compartmental breakdown of the human being bit by bit, and then slowly but surely we build him up and up again. It's just absolutely amazing.
Wow, you really seem to know a lot about it. Yeah, I should have known.
Yes, you should have.
Yeah, I guess I should have known that.
Anyway, what are you doing the rest of the day?
Oh, well, it's a beautiful day out. Beautiful day for a walk. As a matter of fact, I walked over here. It's, just so... I mean, the sun was shining and the birds were singing. Do you like to walk?
Not with you.
Have I said something wrong? Are you angry with me?
You know, Sandy, I think you and I would have a really fantastic relationship if it wasn't for that weird nose of yours. It's a shame. You are an attractive and desirable woman.
You know, when I first saw you at the business luncheon, I thought you looked really handsome. Then I noticed that idiotic grin of yours.
What a shame that such a beautiful and desirous woman such as yourself has so many different faults, such a lack of knowledge. Nonetheless, there's a society function happening this Saturday, and despite the fact that you're low on my list of people to take, I'd still like to take you.
Well, I'd really love to go with a tall, good-looking, athletic type. Too bad you're none of those.
Sandy, I think you're going to be a natural at subliminal mutilation.
Pick me up at 8, will you?
The man, whom we shall call Dan, and the woman, Sandra, Sandy, like the beach, they were meant for each other, but they didn't know it, practiced as they were in the art of subliminal mutilations. They drifted in and out of one-sided affairs, more in love with the idea of love than they knew. For him, it didn't matter. Every woman was the same to him as he looked for what he had already had and unwittingly discarded. Blondes, brunettes, even redheads. And then he met Kathy, the trophy wife. She was much too young for him, but she was his dream child, the one for him. Never have I seen such a case of subliminal mutilations turned inward. She'd phone him up and taunt him mercilessly.
I was away on a business trip, and Kathy called me. And she says, "Did you get the Vanity Fair magazine I sent you?" I hadn't. I said, "Yes, I did." I lied. She said, "You know, you're full of shit." I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "I just read you an article from that very magazine." She says, "Are you mad at me?" I said, "No." "Do you miss me?" "Yes." "You're mad at me?" I said, "You know what? Yes." "Why?" I said, "I don't like being called full of shit." She goes, "I'm just joking." It's a long pause between us. I said goodbye. I hung up the phone, went in the other room. Everybody was watching Against All Odds on the DVD. Nobody had noticed I'd left.
It wasn't enough to call him. She'd call the woman, Sandra, as well.
People were over. The phone rang. It was Kathy. "Are you busy?" she said. "No," I said. She said, I want to read you something." She said, "Isn't that funny?" I didn't get it. What was I going to say?
For Kathy knew them both and knew that they had both reconnected recently and had slept together. So it was no surprise to her when Sandra came calling one night.
I know I haven't been home much lately, but...
I barely get to see you anymore.
Well, I miss you, but believe me, there's a breakthrough coming soon in my research, and well, when it happens...
Who was it?
Ugh, nobody. Anyway, I thought maybe I'd take you out for our anniversary in a couple weeks. And...
Can we go to that Thai place on 37th Street?
Well, absolutely. We'll have some spice at the table and then some spice back here.
Oh my God, who is this?
Nobody. It's Sandy. Sandy from the office. Sandy, Kathy, Sandy.
Come on, why don't you sit down? Subliminal mutilation.
Sandra was pregnant with Dan's baby.
That's what he did to me. Simply my heart, he stole the key. He went into my mind. He found out what made me tick. To say that would do the trick.
Sandra was pregnant with Dan's baby, and because of the art of subliminal mutilation, Kathy accepted it and stepped aside. In fact, she gave up on the relationship.
Down. Get under your skin. It's the worst thing that you could do. to somebody who loves you. Subliminal mutilations, that's the name of the game. Subliminal mutilations was his claim to fame.
I had a beautiful baby boy. He was healthy, with 10 fingers and 10 toes. After a much-needed rest, I decided to name him Dan.
Subliminal mutilations, that's how he gets inside. Subliminally taking hold of your mind. It's all about subliminal mutilations, isn't it?
I think that Gary and Lucinda and Dan and Sandra will be as happy as they can be in this god-awful world. As Finucci says, we take more than we give, so be satisfied that there aren't more returns. Whatever that means. Or as someone else said, for every maybe, there is a wife named maybe not. Think about it.
Subliminal mutilation, that's what he did.
That's all the time we have. My name is Dr. Anne of Green Gables, and I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from. Can we do that again, please? Yes? All right, thank you. Ready? Okay. That's all the time we have. I'm Dr. Jean Gangrene, and... Oh my God, I did it again. All right, look. I've never told anyone this before, but I was hiking in the mountains, and I fell, and I struck my head. And I did not pass out, although I was unconscious for about 3 hours. And the only thing I remember is that the moment that Finucci pushed me, oh my God, I didn't fall. Finucci pushed me, that bastard. All right, okay. Look, I've never told anyone this before, but Finucci doesn't actually exist. I made him up. He's a person I invented so that I didn't have to take responsibility for coming up with weird expressions, or in fact falling from the hill. It wasn't really a mountain, it was just a hill. All right, look. This Dr. Gangrene, first of all, he doesn't exist. Second, he's not a real doctor. I invented him. My name's Finucci. I'm Finucci. I'm the man. I created him so that I would not have to take responsibility for taking responsibility for him and him. Okay? Oh. I never told anyone this before, but Gangrene and Finucci, they don't exist. They're just people I invented. They're inside of me. There's nothing like having two men inside you at the same time. My name's Sandra. Sandy. Like the beach. And I have more personalities in my head than there are grains of sand in my underwear right now. In fact, I'm going to take a shower. Would you like to come with me? No? Well, your loss. And while we're talking about who's inside me, Lucinda's inside me, and Dan and Sandra and Gary. Even Dan and Sandra's baby is all in my head. I'm everyone. All the characters you've seen today. I'm all the characters anywhere and everywhere because I'm God. I am the one without a second, the be-all and the end-all, the absolute, the beginning, the inevitable, the Brahma, the Vishnu, and the redheads. I'm all. I am one. I don't need anybody and they don't need me. I was there at the beginning and I'll be there at the end. Oh, do you doubt me? Then be warned. You shall be smitten. You shall be smoted from the surface of the earth as I loom over you, the lamb and the thief and the beggar, all in one. Demanding, they call me. Vile, they call me. I am all those things and more. I shall shackle you to yourself, so you will never be free. Be free, I tell you. Be free. And yet